Hello, my name is Sophie Jackson, and this is a video that kind of depicts my experience at a rural elementary school in upstate New York. In this video we're gonna talk about my observations, what I learned, the most challenging experiences, how I would implement these in my classroom, and the challenges that I would face when implementing, and how I would overcome those challenges. For this project, I observed a math lesson, analyzed student work, did an analyzation of the ELA lesson, and analyzed some classroom management and organization techniques that my second grade teacher used. The first thing that I'm going to discuss is some classroom management techniques that my host teacher used. As you can see in the picture, there's a bucket with popsicle sticks with students' names on them. This is a great way for the teacher to call on students and help with their engagement. I saw her use this almost every day because she had trouble getting students to raise their hand with answers because they might not know the answer, but even if they didn't know, if their popsicle stick was called, they always gave an attempt. I would use this in my classroom when I am a teacher because it helps make the class and the lessons go smoother. You don't have to wait for people to raise their hand and participate. Some challenges that I might face are if I call on the student, they might not know the answer, which is okay because when that would happen to my host teacher, what she would do is she would simply guide them, ask them guiding questions to get them to critically think and enable them to better answer their question. So she figured out a way to solve that problem by guiding their questions towards the answer that she wanted. So that is a strategy that I would also use in my classroom. This picture above shows another way that my teacher helped with organization and classroom management. This is the students' browsing box, and a browsing box is where they keep all of their morning independent work. They keep a book to read in case they have free time. They keep headphones that they use for technology and any other papers and pencils that they might need for the morning activity. My teacher used this. It helped with the independent work, keeping things organized. At this age, developmentally, these 7 and 8-year-olds, they have trouble with organization. So this is a great way to keep students organized and enable them to be able to keep their work in one place so they don't lose anything. Another thing that this helps with is students at this age also developmentally appreciate independent work. So this enables a place for students to put that independent work that they complete and helps them stay organized for things. Challenges with the browsing box that I might face when I'm a teacher is the students might still become unorganized, get their browsing box unorganized. That's where the teacher needs to just step in and make sure that they're keeping everything in there that they need to keep in there. Another thing is the browsing box could get damaged, but to overcome that, you just have to have an alternative for those kind of students that are a little rough with it. But it's a great way to keep the students organized and on task. This picture shows their actual work folder that is in their browsing box. As you can see, it has a fix or do side and a done side. This is just another organization technique that my host teacher used. It helped them keep their independent work organized, which, like I stated previously, developmentally they like independent work at this age, and developmentally they struggle with organization. So this is a great way for them to keep all their papers neat and organized so they can actively complete their morning work. Challenges that I might face with this are some of the students didn't use the folder, but to handle that situation, all you need to do is just take the morning workout every morning and pay attention to which students are using it and which students are not, so that you can actively take care of those types of problems. This next photo shows my students in the morning getting their actual morning work. Every morning, my host teacher had each student grab their browsing box and actually put their morning work in it. So it was like a classroom routine. At this age, 7 and 8-year-olds love routines. They thrive based on a daily routine that they can complete, something that's consistent. So this was a great way developmentally for them to not only stay organized, but be responsible and get their morning work done quickly and quietly. Challenges that my teacher would face and I also would face using this would be students coming in late, maybe absent students, but my teacher puts bins at the front of the room with extra papers so students know if they're absent or coming late where to get their work, so that way it kind of cuts down on students missing out work.
Unit. 2. How many in the tens unit? 3. How many in the ones? 2.
So this math lesson that the teacher taught was with bundles, and they had sticks where they bundled them into bundles of 10, and then bundles of 100, and then bundles of 1,000 with 10 100 bundles. This activity was very hands-on. Students were engaged because of the way that the teacher introduced it. is she dropped all of the 1,000 popsicle sticks on the ground and made it a problem that they had to solve. They had to figure out a way to clean it up. So what the teacher did is she made it a very hands-on activity. She encouraged critical thinking because they had a problem to solve, and they were very engaged in the activity. They got to work in partners to figure out a way to clean it up, and they learned about different place values with hundreds, tens, and ones. So it was a great activity to get the students engaged. The next clip that you're going to see is actually part of the follow-up lesson, the re-engagement lesson, where they practice counting with the hundreds, tens, and ones places.
110. Let me put this down. I'm afraid I'm going to drop it. 110. 2 tens. 3 tens. Not a race. 4 tens. 5 tens. Wait a minute. 6 tens. 7 tens. 8 tens. 9 tens.
10 tens.
Am I allowed to have 10 tens?
No.
What do I need to do?
Bundle it.
Bundle it. Okay, Michaela?
Another teaching strategy that this teacher used was called echo reading, where the students repeat what the teacher reads and they break it down into phrases. This increases student engagement because everyone has to participate and read and follow along. It helps with the word decoding. If a word they don't know, they hear the teacher pronounce it, they can see it written on a page. It's very helpful for fluency and understanding comprehension. Helps. The challenges with this is some students don't follow along always, and that would be a challenge in my classroom to make sure that all students are engaged at all times by checking up on them and making sure that they understand what their role is, what their job is. It also promotes critical thinking because the teacher asks for their predictions and they have to predict different parts of the stories. The next slide is a short clip of the class echo reading with the teacher.
Dad said Mike.
Dad said Mike.
Please tell us a bedtime tale.
Please tell us a bedtime tale.
Yes, said Anne.
Yes, said Anne.
Clapping her hands.
What I did for it was I was sounding out the sounds, and while I was doing that, I heard what it was, and then I put it in the right one.
So you sounded out the words to figure out which sound what letter made.
Yes.
What letter was it? What letter's the important letter here?
S.
Is it an S? Look at it again.
Okay.
But what's the important letter?
C.
C, that's right. This student work was very important. She was able to explain herself pretty well, and she's very average for her developmental level, so this kind of independent work is very important for a student like this. They are able to get this kind of thing done by sounding it out, which she was able to say how she did it, so that was very good critical thinking. And she was able to use her ELA skills and be engaged in this kind of activity. Challenges students had with this is they had trouble being able to sound out the words and figure out what column they went in. So going over an activity like this before would kind of reduce that in my own classroom. Jaden, just explain to me what you did here, how you found your answer.
Okay. I found my answer that I know 200 plus 40 equals 240. Just plus that 5 equals 245.
Okay, and what'd you do here? What are these called?
Those are drawings, and the big ones are hundreds, and the sort of like the small ones are the tens, and they're just the lines are the ones.
And what'd you do down here?
I made a number line. It says 20 plus 5 plus 40 equals 245.
Very good, thank you. This particular student that analyzed his own work is one of the upper level students in my class. He clearly from his work, he has trouble with organization, but he's very smart and he understands concepts, especially math concepts. To answer this problem, he used several different math concepts. He used the bonding with the number bonds, and he also used the bundles with the pictures of the bundles, and he did a number sentence. So clearly he understands the concept. He used various critical thinking skills. You can see it on his paper. He used several different ways to break up the number, which clearly shows critical thinking. He, developmentally, he is right on target. He was able to answer the math question, and he did a very good job at explaining his answer with what he did. Although his organization is not clear, which is very on level for his development. Okay, so do you see this homework assignment that you're doing at your desk? What did you do for that first part? How did you know which one to circle?
Because the length of a push pin isn't that big, so it's 1 centimeter.
So you circled it because centimeters are smaller than meters, right? Okay, good. This student is very average for her developmental level. She did an excellent job being able to critically think about these problems so that she could figure out which is the proper length. She developmentally, her being able to explain that so clearly was very above her developmental level. 7-year-olds usually have a very hard time with explaining why they got their answer, so she did an excellent job with it, understanding that the size of the push pin meant that it was small, so she should pick the smaller value. Challenges that I might face with a problem like this would be with the words in the problem. If a student didn't know what a push pin was, they may have trouble deciding what length it was. So I need to understand tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 words and understand that some students might not know words in problems, and I need to go over that before they do the problem so they can accurately solve them.